everybody.
Hello.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Caitlin.
And this is Who Has Time for This, the podcast where the two of us delve into complex topics through the lens of our own unique perspectives. And on today's episode, Caitlin has sort of taken the wheel. I'm sure I'll have a lot to say on it too, but we're going to start talking about somebody that I think we've all been hearing a lot about recently. One, Joanne, what's her middle name? K. Rowling.
And we'll talk even about that initial later.
Yeah. We're going to get into problematic favorites.
Yep. And the general problem with problematic favorites and the discourse of the internet, specifically social media, and particularly Twitter. All right. Well, I'm going to just come right out and say it. This was a journey for me to go on, and I'm going to try to be as tight as possible in this discussion, but please make room for some meandering thoughts and discussion, because there is a lot to say about this topic.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, it certainly was, and it is, and it will continue to be. So let's talk about what is a problematic fave. The term originated on Tumblr, specifically a Tumblr called Your Fave is Problematic, which shared, quote, problematic shit your favorite celebrities have done, quote, cataloging famous people's regrettable, racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, ethnophobic, ableist, and so on, statements and actions, you know, the things that would end up getting people canceled in the late 2010s. The Tumblr was created by a high school senior who, later, in her own words, described her actions as, quote, vengeful public shaming masquerading as social criticism, end quote.
That makes sense that it was created by a high schooler.
Yep.
Reading through it.
Exactly. And she later wrote a piece for the New York Times, like outing herself as the creator and acknowledging what I think is important for all of us who participate in the discourse on the internet to consider. And this is what she said. There's something almost quaint about it all now. Teenage me teaching myself about social justice on Tumblr while also posturing as an authority on that very subject, thinking I was making a difference while engaging in a bit of schadenfreude. Meanwhile, other movements, local, global, unified in their purposes and rooted in progressive philosophies, were organizing for actual justice.
Ooh.
My brain was not ready for nuance. I was angered by hypocrisy and cruelty. What I did about it was apply a level of scrutiny that left no room for error. Now, if that doesn't sound like what we see on social media all the time around any sensitive topic in this day and age, I don't know how else you would describe it. So, we're talking about problematic faves, but that has a role in the greater conversation about, like, who has the right to say what and how you say it regarding the issues of the day that are sensitive, have many points and takes to consider, and not everybody is on the same page about, and how that impacts how we discuss them. So this is something that I think J.K. Rowling saw, and I'll get to that when I dissect that whole thing. But it's the way she went about it was incorrect. And I think we can say that now because she has not backed down. She's had many opportunities to do so. So anyway, I agree that teenagers, back to the problematic faves discussion, I agree that teenagers whose brains are still developing, who tend to see things in black and white, you know, bless them, I wish everything were that simple, and who more likely than not have very few major lived experiences to draw perspective from, should not be social policing anyone else, nor should they be dictating how everyone else experiences pop culture. It's great to raise red flags and talk about it. It's not great to just come out and say, this is wrong, let's shut it down, no, end of discussion, that's it. Because it doesn't get us anywhere.
Yeah. And it is like, you know, when somebody says something that's not perfect, like, are they really, like, are they at the level of J.K. Rowling or Neil Gaiman or somebody else? Like, if it's like, you know, just a young, like, actor or somebody who misspeaks. Yeah.
Because they're nervous on the red carpet or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Like, there has to be some nuance in there. Yeah. It can't be black and white.
Exactly. I mean, we can expect more authority on any given topic from somebody with authority that they are using for good. Like, say, we expect Obama to speak correctly about things. Like, you know, but yeah. And he mostly does. He doesn't, I talk about him later. Mm-hmm. He's not a problematic fave, but he kind of was for a little bit about gay marriage.
I mean, and there's also, like, things that he did in his presidency that, you know, we wish he didn't.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. But yeah, not to make everything political, but that's always what I do. So.
I don't know if this is jumping ahead, but I just had a thought of that sort of, like, you know, sometimes people misspeak or that. And recently, Chapel Roan has come under a lot of fire because she, like, refused to put out any sort of political opinions. And she was saying, well, I'm a musician. I'm not, like, a politician. I'm not an expert in that. And people were really angry. I got, like, sort of angry about it in the beginning because I was like, you have a lot of influence. Like, you could tell people, platform, like, you know, vote for Kamala or whatever. But that's the thing. Like, if she said one thing a little bit wrong, she would get brigaded anyway. So.
Yeah, and what? Do you support Trump? Like, no. Did she say that? No.
Yeah. I mean, so anyway, I'm sure we'll get into more discussion.
No, but that's a good point. Yeah. So anyway, what is this episode really about? Honestly, you tell me when you're done listening to it. But here's what I think. So, like, there's so many implications to this. We could do 10 episodes just about social media activism and problematic faves and the impact on how we talk to each other today. But it all kind of boils down to this. Okay, so we talk about the problematic faves and and the cancel culture and how that kind of led to the boiling point of where we got in 2020 with the online discourse of Black Lives Matter, defund the police, everything that was happening during COVID, mask, don't mask, lockdown, schools. You couldn't ever say anything without somebody coming and saying you're terrible on no matter what. And it's gotten a little better since then, I think, but that's just the backdrop I want to paint. So then who decides what's problematic and are they always right? Again, you tell me. Can we separate the art from the artist and enjoy our favorites still in the context of what we know better about now? And what happens when beloved works don't age well? And on that respect, we're going to talk about things like Will and Grace, Friends, The Office, like TV of the late 90s, early 2000s that, like, today people have some problems with. Or even, like, could you even make The Office today? I don't think so. Not in the way it was. So anyway, here's the original reason why I even wanted to explore this topic in a way that hits home hard for both of us. I wanted to know that given J.K. Rowling's repeated anti-trans statements and actions and the surrounding controversy, is it okay, as in socially acceptable, as in I won't get canceled, for me to want to share the magic of Harry Potter with my children once they're old enough to read it or have me read it to them? And that might sound like a silly and stupid question, or especially like the will I get canceled part, because no, I'm just like a regular person, nobody cares. But I mean, I think about everything I say so much before I say it.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. I think that we should do that generally. But also not be afraid to say what feels right, especially and as long as it's not hurting or putting other people down. Mm-hmm. So we'll explore that.
So kind of like, is reading or sharing Harry Potter, in essence,
Like
putting other people down.
Yeah.
Is that contributing to
yeah, exactly.
what J.K. Rowling's actions are doing?
Exactly. And is just the simple act of reading it, sharing it, a reflection of J.K. Rowling? Like, you know, like, are you reflecting J.K. Rowling by choosing in this day and age to read Harry Potter to your kids who don't know who J.K. Rowling is?
Yeah.
And don't know anything because they're children. They're not on social media. They don't know anything. So, all right. We'll circle back to the problem with problematic faves and the cultural context a little bit more deeply. So, I alluded to this earlier. I don't think high schoolers are the be-all, end-all to judge people about what they like.
Although high schoolers love to judge people.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the experience of being an adolescent, and that's like where you are. And yes, we should listen to the children because they speak purely, you know? Like, they don't have... It goes both ways, this conversation, you know? Like, they don't have the perspective to be able to understand the nuance behind people's views, and also they're usually right because they don't have prejudice because they haven't lived long enough to do so. But the whole thing is, like, how do you learn how to speak about sensitive topics in a way that is persuasive and effective and not just makes the issue about the debate versus the actual issue, the people who are harmed. So, okay. Let's start with the cultural context. So back in the day, in the 90s, and through the Obama years.
Can I just really quickly? So I was watching a horror movie, which was a cute little horror movie, but the premise was like there was some sort of mining accident in a town, you know, way back in the day, and the town collapsed and it was all haunted. And the mining accident was in the mid-90s.
What?
I was like, what mines were operating in the 90s?
Did, like,
it's
high
such
schooler
an
make the
unsafe
movie?
level that they would, like, explode and bury an entire town.
Right.
Anyway.
That's hilarious.
So we're at that point in media where the 90s is the past that's haunted.
Yep. Exactly. That's amazing. So during the time of the 90s and through the Obama years, liberals were cool. I mean, think about that today. I think it has decidedly become the other way around. Not that I think conservatives are cool, but in the zeitgeist or whatever, that's how it is. That's what's going on right now.
There's also like all these different factions of like people who say that like the liberals are problematic because they're not left enough. They're like, those liberal leftists, they're not.
And when I say
XYZ other term that's
exactly, they're not
anarchists
leftist
or communist,
enough.
They're not left enough.
Yeah, and when I say liberal, I'm using that term loosely, liberal versus conservative, because back in the day, the left was the liberals. You know, now there's a million factions, like you said. So back in the day, though, it was the conservatives who were the scolds, and. Okay, don't worry about MAGA right now. We're just talking about regular 1990s stuff.
What we're talking about is bad enough without MAGA.
And the liberals were cool. Like, Obama was cool. And Clinton, not with, like, before the Monica Lewinsky and before we know he's definitely in the Epstein files, he was cool. He was playing the saxophone, like we were cool, and the conservatives were the scolds. They were the ones burning Harry Potter books that they didn't even bother to crack open because they're like, witches, and Harry Potter's going to turn your children gay, and there was no talking reason to them.
Nope.
And so now it's kind of like switched. Like, now people share memes of Trump dancing to the YMCA like he's cool. Like no. Why? How did we get here? And that's actually a lot of this plays into that. So anyway, so we've seen the rise in identity politics, problematic faves, etc., combined with social media, the most wonderful way to communicate on the internet, to create this atmosphere of zero-sum discourse where everything's black and white and there's just like no room for discussion, nuance, education, which is like the most important thing, also empathy. That's not to say like MAGA is terrible like this too, but MAGA is built to tear people down, and we can all see that. And whereas the progressive discourse that I'm just offering my take and constructive, I hope, criticism on is rooted in goodness and things that we want to see move forward, but we just get caught in this endless cycle of the debate becomes a story instead of the issues and the people that they are impacting. And whether or not that's the intention, and then I don't think it is mostly, except for the people who joyride on the hate, or not even the hate, but the policing of other people, other people's language. I just think there's some opportunism involved there, like, oh, let me get my tweet shared 1,000 times.
And I also, I always come back to saying, in so many different aspects of life, but in this aspect, definitely, perfect is the enemy of good.
Exactly, yep.
If there's some sort of, I don't know, alliance, maybe there's a guy who doesn't use all the right words, but his actions show that he believes women should have equal rights.
Exactly.
Educate him, don't tear him down, don't alienate.
Let me invite you to look at it this way.
Because he is using an outdated term.
Yeah. So people don't know what they don't know, usually is the problem of everything. And, sorry, I was going to try really hard not to say and because I've noticed that when I edit episodes.
I always say
We're learning. We're learning, people. I saw something on Instagram yesterday, somebody that I follow who's very much leading this whole, let's talk about Democrats winning so that we can actually get things we want done and stop just arguing with each other. And she said, people are addicted to righteousness. And I said, heck yeah, that is it. You should be righteous, but you have to channel it with... My mom always told me, I forgot if she said be the bigger person or the better person, but... And this is a huge opportunity for that. And it's annoying to have to be the person who's understanding and empathetic. It's very annoying, but there are certain people who have the stomach to do it, the patience, the temperament, and you just got to do it. And then you can't, when people are like that, I don't want to hear, oh, you're both sidesism being everything. No, I'm not. Or no, they're not.
I'm
no,
so
we're
sick
not.
of hearing that Kamala was just as bad as Trump.
Yeah, no.
She's not perfect.
No.
Okay, anyway. Can't dwell on what didn't happen.
Can't dwell on what could have been. We have another opportunity. Let's not mess it up, okay? So this is why this episode's coming out now.
We're already all fired up, and we haven't even started with JK's
page
tweets.
2 of my 10-page outline. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. So, all of this that we're talking about, kind of let's remember back in mid-2020, it's COVID. We're all stuck inside our houses, or not stuck in, don't say that. We all were not locked in our houses, but we were not living life like we wanted to. George Floyd had just been murdered. Everyone was angry. Everybody was angry about everything, rightfully so. And then also you add the isolation factor to it, and we're all on social media being angry. And this reached that fever pitch, and I don't even know where I'm going with this, but it just led to this atmosphere, or it culminated in this atmosphere where we're shutting down conversations when we need to be building bridges during a turbulent time in global history. I'm sorry for all of us that we have to live our prime adulthood through this time.
Yeah. Or your teen years.
Or your teen years. I I'm glad that hopefully by the time my kids are teenagers, we'll have figured most of this out, and that is what keeps me going, and that's the hope I feel. We have the bench to do it. We just got to stop getting it in our way. So anyway, this is getting very much away from J.K. Rowling. We're getting there. But
don't worry, we'll get back to the horrible lady.
Yes, and I really want to bring this home with an example of what's going on right now, of the backwardness of this whole toxic atmosphere, which is Miss Rachel. So, are you familiar with Miss Rachel's stances?
Absolutely.
Well, Miss Rachel in general, but
Palestine.
and yes. Okay. I mean, I know it's like news everywhere now, but in the beginning, she was just posting her posts, and people were freaking out. And now it's like become like major headline news that she was in the Washington Post the other day. But literally, this is what she said. Well, maybe not literally. Don't quote me. She said, "Children in Gaza are suffering and dying. Period. End of sentence."
Mm-hmm.
And people come out of the woodwork saying, "So you hate Jewish children? You hate Jewish people? Blah, blah, blah. How can you say that? How can you talk about Gaza?" And da 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 da. And did she ever say she hates Jewish people? No. Did she condemn the attacks of October 7th and the babies that were murdered then? Absolutely she did. Maybe not in the same post, but not every post.
But since then, how many Palestinian babies have been murdered?
Exactly. And it's just like...
That is also sort of like during the Black Lives Matter movement, when people would be like, "Oh, so you don't care about white lives?" And it's like,
no, that's not
saying
what we're
black
saying.
people matter.
Yeah.
Like, shouldn't be like saying that black people deserve to live.
Yeah.
Saying that Palestinian children deserve to not be murdered.
Right.
Shouldn't be interpreted as a call for murdering other people.
No,
kind of,
exactly.
like,
And it's like what's unsaid or whatever. No, what you can't just look at a single Instagram post in a vacuum. You have to like look at this woman. She spends her day making fun, educational content for children. Do you really think she like hates anybody?
Yeah.
And
Who has
it
time
just
for
made
this
me
pod?
so mad.
Big fans of Miss Rachel.
Yes, big Miss Rachel stands, and I'm getting worked up because it just makes me so mad, and it's upsetting, and it turns the story into Miss Rachel hates Jewish people, which is not at all what happened or what she said or who she is or what she believes, and it makes Miss Rachel the enemy instead of, why don't we talk about the prime minister over there that just like will not back down from wanting
genocide?
To take from genocide.
Call a spade a spade.
He literally like the other day said Israel wants to take Gaza. So let's like put the pieces together. Okay, we're not getting in. That's not what this is about. But my point is, Miss Rachel kind of saw it before everybody else did, and she was crucified for it. So moving on, this is a problem. This whole level of fever pitch that any single issue takes when discussed on the internet, specifically on social media. And then, of course, the legacy media makes it 50,000 times worse because they, needing clicks and video views and whatever, take the most toxic takes and vitriolic comments and makes that the headline instead of the wisest takes or like the actual meat of a problem. And that's how you get fodder for Fox News to keep pushing. And that's how the New York Times becomes unserious. And it just rinse, repeat. Happens over and over and over and over again. And then what happens? A president is elected who is not going to further any sort of change for good. In fact, it's going the other way. So, is that what we want as a society? I don't think so. And and then you have like the people who could actually make a difference, or instead of they're scared of saying the wrong thing, and they're like scrambling to like random senators and whoever, business leaders scrambling to just like make some statement that they don't understand, and then pull some sort of stunt so that they're like not getting canceled, instead of channeling their energy into like meaningful change.
We're gonna have so many sidetracks. I'm sorry, but that just like so like the channeling it into something that's not really meaningful.
Yeah.
Instead of like doing actual actions.
Yeah.
That another sort of like meaningless like response to like being afraid of being canceled that just came up and during like the peak of the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020 or whatever. Remember the show Big Mouth?
Yes.
Remember how Jenny Slate was like, I'm not gonna voice a black cartoon character anymore?
Yeah.
Like, but like she wasn't doing any sort of like racist accent or anything. And it's like, that's not making a difference.
No, you're just like
that is
adding
just
your voice
so dumb.
in a stupid
You're
way.
elevating yourself rather than
exactly
raising up black voices.
And I think that's what a lot of like politicians did. I can't think of anything
it was so dumb
specific, but like you know that they did. And yeah, exactly. And actors and being like, oh,
like, no one's mad at you for voicing a cartoon.
Yeah, that's your job. And sure, why didn't they choose a black person to begin with? I don't know. Have that conversation.
What about what about like the person who voiced Chucky? She was from Rugrats. She was a woman, so should she have backed down to let up like
to play a toddler?
Anyway, it was like Jenny Slate. This is not about you.
Yeah, it's not about you. Great, you're an ally. Whatever.
Yeah.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
So yes, we should support concerted activist efforts to publicize diversity, inclusivity, and more inclusive language is valid. Because this is how the Overton window shifts. The Overton window is the range of issues that become politically acceptable to mainstream population at a given time.
Oh.
So think about how long did it take for same-sex marriage to become like, well, of course it should be legal. It took a very long time.
Obama saying he would never make it legal to Obama making it legal.
Exactly. And so that's exactly in my my next point. Like, yes, because it's been like since so we had the civil rights in the late 60s, and then that kind of gave way to the beginning. Like, all right, we got that sorted for now. I mean, sorted, you know, it's still a struggle.
Yeah.
But then we kind of moved on to gay rights in the 70s, and it took until 2015 to secure that. But all the meanwhile, every protest, every action pushed it into the discourse and the public eye until it became common sense. Of course, everybody should have the right to be married. And we're seeing that now with trans people, trans women, trans men, and it's a long and ugly fight. I don't know how long it's going to take, but we're in it now, and
even though like we've moved on to sort of the next like social justice thing, doesn't mean
that we're done with the previous ones.
Like
because now we're already
civil rights is complete.
We're backsliding on women's rights with abortion bans and such, and
all the white supremacy that's everywhere.
Yep. Yeah, it's a big one. And so, like, we recognize this, and at the same time, the way that people are channeling their anxiety and anger is not always helpful to moving us in the positive direction because of the polarized climate we're in. And again, yes, I'm thinking specifically of Obama. He entered his office not a supporter of same-sex marriage, and through the 7 years, because he was elected 2008, and this happened, the courts ruled in 2015, like, he finally came out and said, you know what, no, I've changed my mind, and for this. That's a result of, like, activism, and his silly vice president having a gaffe, his Catholic vice president, and saying, yeah, everybody should have the right to marry whoever they want.
And if you even look at like Joe Biden's career, like, you know, because he's been in politics for decades and decades, like, you could see the trajectory of him changing his mind too.
And he is a Catholic, an Irish Catholic as they come, and he saw that people are people, and we can talk about everything else that happened that now nobody wants to hear from him ever again. But let's separate that.
Another thing is like the sort of witch hunt of where you like pull up an old tweet or something from somebody and be like, look what they used to do, and people will be like, Joe Biden was so against this in 1984.
With the busing
and it's like,
which Kamala
but
brought up.
But he grew and changed and learned.
Yeah, that's
over
all
time.
We want.
And I think that shows more.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
He's willing to like change his ideas when he learns new information. But like, so I'm not saying I was like happy about having him as president.
No,
but there's nuance to it.
Yeah. At his heart, he was a person capable of caring for other people. Yeah. I think we can say that. So, I'm also thinking about pronouns and the shift in calling trans people, trans men or trans women instead of transsexual, which we can talk about with Rocky Horror. But these shifts need to come with education. You can't just, you can in your inner circles of people that you know understand without having to explain, but you can't just come out and be like, this is they, them, da-da-da, to people who are just like, what are you talking about? Because they're going to instantly get defensive and be like, I don't understand, and you're not explaining it to me. And it's annoying that the marginalized community and their allies have to be the ones having to go out of their way to explain things. But I don't know how else we get to a better point.
I've had conversations like with older people who are just feeling like they don't get it. And I think the number one thing is that they're afraid of making a mistake and offending somebody.
Yeah, exactly. I think everything comes from a place of fear, whether it's fear of the people or fear of saying the wrong thing. And there's
like a little
certain
bit of patience
levels of education.
Just keep correcting them when you need to, but do it in a kind way.
Yep. I swear we're getting to J.K. Rowling.
Unless, sometimes people won't take it nicely, and then you can be... you can be like mad at them.
Yeah.
But
and then
but when you see like there's
they
some
show
people
their
that
true
are just,
colors, and that's that. I don't know. You can't argue with some people.
Yeah.
Like most of MAGA. But
anyway.
So the disconnect here. So now here's the thing: social media and legacy media do dictate what's going to filter through to the regular people of the people who aren't on their phones constantly, people who aren't like plugged in to the latest social activist discourse.
They don't know what the most recent meme is.
They don't know the most recent meme. They don't know what's going on because they're just like doing their jobs and feeding their families and going out for hikes, and they're just not glued to their phone. But I think as younger generations come up, there's going to be more people who are extremely online, and that's not good either. But like right now, we have like a really big mix of who's extremely online, who's just normal online, and who's not online at all.
Also, there are so many different places to be online.
Yeah.
So you're getting different information in all those different places.
And the most outlandish and toxic one-liners are what's getting picked up by the legacy media that most people still get their news from. And that's the kind of stuff that is not going to change minds because it just comes across as crazy, honestly, without the rest of the context behind it. We're not talking in the most constructive way to the general public about these issues. So, yeah, like I'm on Instagram every day. I work in digital marketing as my day job and on social media a lot. I just have a very specific way of using social media because I'm on it like constantly for both work and pleasure. And not everybody's like that. And again, everybody, like, I don't ever go on YouTube except to upload our show. But so many people, it's like
my dad, who doesn't have a smartphone, now that he's got a smart TV, he watches on YouTube Shorts.
Yes, exactly. And Reddit, I'm only recently getting involved, like getting in on that, but that's...
I have to limit my Reddit time because it can be really depressing.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's still people who are on good old Facebook getting served AI and Russian
Don't forget
hoaxes.
Tumblr, the only social media that I really use.
Yeah, I won't lie. I didn't know Tumblr was still around.
It's the best.
And
it's
I'm
like,
a social media marketer.
It's just like the dregs of society. It's like just all the weirdos.
I'm glad there's a place. I just don't tell me my fave is problematic unless they actually are, and I want the receipts.
Well, and that's I think Tumblr is where you get all those dumb takes like that.
Yeah, because it's just
it's a mix of like people who have been on there since 2014 and have grown up.
Yeah,
and then the young people who find it and they're just like repeating all those same mistakes.
Yep. So everybody has like a totally different like experience with social media and the news, how they're getting their news, if they're even tuning in to getting the news. And let me just put it this way. Using Twitter, which is the platform that J.K. Rowling so masterfully uses. That's sarcasm. And
see, and you had to say it because somebody will be take that clip and be like, Caitlin loves
J.K. Rowling, you hate everyone in the world because you made one snide comment.
Anyway.
So, of the 340 million people in the United States, 104 million are on Twitter. So that's 30% of the U.S. population.
Oh, wow.
Of those 104 million people, just 10% of them are responsible for more than 90% of the tweets on Twitter. So
what percentage of those tweets are made by Elon Musk?
Probably at least 85. So just think about it that way. You've got the most extremely online people who are like prone to extreme discourse, generating most of the content on Twitter, but reflecting only literally 3% of the entire country.
Yeah.
So, and then that is what gets picked
shared.
Up by the news. Yeah. And shared, and it's this tweet is on Threads, and then that Threads is picked up on Blue Sky.
You got a picture of the tweet that's posted to Reddit. And
so it just does not reflect the views of the majority of the United States. So this has led to a situation where, like, generally reasonable people. Yes, I do believe that most of the United States is generally reasonable. We know this because 30%, which is a lot, but it's less than half of the U.S. identify as MAGA. And I'm not saying only 30% identify as Trump voters. I'm just saying 30% are MAGA. Mm-hmm. And there are others who are also Trump voters that are probably not too happy now. Yes, they're probably not too happy now. And so you can see that pretty much everybody else becomes alienated from these important discussions because of the way they're conducted, or amplified at least. I'm sure there's tons of important conversations happening where people are like using the democratized version of the internet where like you can speak to anyone and anyone can speak to you, and it like really does open up connection. Mm-hmm. Responsibly. I'm sure that's there. I know that's there. I do it. The people I follow do it all the time. But what gets amplified and picked up by everybody else is the most crazy of the conversations on all parts of the political spectrum. So this is what I took away from back in the day of like remembering now what it was like to live during the early COVID time. Like you'll see posts about defund the police, and if you're a bigot if you don't put your pronouns in your profile, you're a Nazi if you've never heard of Juneteenth. Like, that is what I remember, because that is what, I mean, I don't remember it because I, like, saw it actually happening. I remember it because that's what was in the news. That's what the news chose to
and it's like
make the problem about.
Real people weren't saying that.
No.
One or
Elon
two people,
Musk probably said it, and then it got picked up.
Like Azalea Banks was saying.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly,
like some crazy person who says controversial things probably said it.
Yeah, and again, MAGA and whoever else said worse. But I'm talking about the people that I know are better people and can be the voices that lead us to the promised land. I don't know how else to say it. And so that's why we need to Just reconsider the online purity politics and get back to where people are talking to people. So that's exactly it. People just need to talk to people. I don't want to have to give everybody the benefit of the doubt all the time, but that's just what we have to do.
Yeah.
And I've already said a lot of this, but the reason I say this is because I know that the views of every single human being on this earth is shaped by their upbringing, the culture they consume, and the culture that defines their family and their places of origin, the books that they read, the religion or lack thereof that they belong to, their lived experiences, and their algorithms. And so every person comes to their view on a topic in a very specific and individualized manner. And one experiment that I conducted with my team at work was because we were talking about changing content strategies for our social media clients, and I had everyone open their phone or open Instagram on their phone and scroll for 5 minutes, and we all talked about what we saw. And everyone's reality is completely different.
Yeah.
No one's feed is the same. Nobody's following the same type of accounts. People are getting the news or they're not getting the news that way.
And that's also that's a group of people who have similar interests because you're working in a very specific field, and even you guys have such a varied social media presence.
So when we're talking about these flashpoints that we think that everyone cares about and is keyed into, chances are most people aren't. It's just this really loud small population who is. And we just have to understand that and accept that we need to give people space to learn and grow when faced with these tough conversations. And another thing I want to say about that, so I had all these thoughts. It's going to be the longest episode ever, but I think a lot about people, women who vote conservatively because of their views on abortion. And it's really hard. I know some people are quite evil about it, but then other times it's they really truly believe that abortion is killing a baby, and they see that more than they see women's rights. So how do you have that conversation? Do you have that conversation by saying you're stupid and women are better than embryos or whatever even a baby is at that point? Or do you say, please reconsider being a single issue voter, because it ends up getting incompetent men into office who make things worse for everybody.
And you vote in the pro-life person who then, once the baby is born, don't do anything to protect them from gun violence in school, or give them free lunch at school so they can't learn and they can't function and they go home hungry.
Seeing beyond that single issue and informing. That's how I think it has to be done. So our algorithms also contribute to our views, but our views are already shaped from the day we're born by how we're raised and everything that comes along with that. And another thing I want to say is that my colleague was camping the weekend that the U.S. bombed Iran, and she literally didn't know that it happened. I mean... Yeah. She just didn't turn on the TV or look at her phone because she was camping.
Yeah, it must have been
and then
nice.
We were it was all we talked about at work. And she was like, what? So, I mean, we don't have a shared reality anymore is the thing. All right, finally, 45 minutes in, we are getting to J.K. Rowling, and thank you for sticking with us. This is, that was the meat of the argument I wanted to set up, and here we go. So what does the heck does any of this have to do with J.K. Rowling? Let us first set the scene, because it's important that you understand how much we love Harry Potter. So, Katie, I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to let you tell us how you got into Harry Potter.
Oh, gosh. Summer reading, between 5th and 6th grade, I read books 1 through 4 in, I don't know, 2-3 weeks.
Yep. Fast
as
reads.
a 5th grader. And then it was like the waiting for the next 3 books and going to the midnight releases and having like community there, and they would always come out right before my family would go on a trip to New Hampshire. So my sister and I would have to like share the book, and it was exciting. And there was one year where Caitlin was with us, and I had read the book first, so then Caitlin joined us, and she and my sister read the book, and they were Harry partners.
Yes, I forgot about that until this moment. I can't believe it.
And it's just like, who doesn't wish that, like, you, like, got whisked away to a world of magic and opportunity, and, like, I don't know, like, I have a lovely family and a caring home, but all the kids who, like, didn't could see, like, Harry Potter was somebody who, it was, like, all about a found family and, like, finding love on your own and, like, finding a sense of belonging that you've longed for your whole life. And magic.
Yeah, magic. And cool old people, like Dumbledore. I love me a cool old person. And I had a similar experience, same time frame. Though I do remember the year before I actually started reading the books, the Scholastic Book Fair lady came and she was like, there's this new book about this boy wizard. And I was like, no thank you. I'm going to read my Babysitter's Little Sister books, and that's my jam.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember what, I think somebody gave me the book as a gift. And then I was like,
my sister
fine,
had
I
read
guess I
them,
have to read this now.
So I read hers.
And let me just say, like, I was smitten from the moment I read that first sentence, and I was very nerdy, and my uncle bought me, like, this is so sweet. My single uncle who has no kids went to, like, Hallmark for some reason, and he saw these, like the little, like, trinkets that you used to get at Hallmark, and he bought me Harry, Ron, and Hermione.
Aww.
And because he, like, knew I would love it. And later, like, as I'm an adult, he told me, he was like, you know, I was really worried about you because you were obsessed. And I was like, this girl's gonna get beat up. She's such a nerd. Then, like, why did you buy me these things? But, and then he's like, but you identified this cultural phenomenon long before anyone else, not anyone else, but we children saw what we saw in Harry Potter.
And, like, good triumphing over evil. And, like, I have not obviously read any of the Harry Potter books in a long, long time.
Me neither.
But I don't think I've read a book as many times still as I've read Deathly Hallows.
I've read
over and over again.
I've read them all at least 4 times each,
Yeah.
but each one I read a different number of times.
Yeah,
so.
I feel like Deathly Hallow I must have read like 10 times.
Oh, it was the best. So, and then one fun fact, Katie and I each have Harry Potter tattoos that we got together. So
Yeah.
And we will
That
share
was a mark of
images
our
of
friendship.
them on social media. So, needless to say, we're, like, invested in this, as so many Harry Potter fans are. So, the timeline, and again, back to not having shared realities and shared algorithms and shared timelines, I bet there are so many people that still have no idea what happened. And have, like, what? Why?
Yeah.
What happened with J.K. Rowling?
And a lot of people might be thinking it's still just a couple of, like, tweets that were taken the wrong way.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
don't realize the extent to which she has maliciously... Anyway, can't
Yeah,
get
which
into it.
I was back and forth on until I started investigating further. Because of everything I described earlier about the atmosphere that this took place in. And I'm a journalist at heart, so I have to investigate everything. So people... Here's the timeline. People notice... sorry, let me take one step back. J.K. Rowling is an extremely online person, which is weird, and I don't like that. But I can't tell her what to do, as we've discussed at length at this point. So people noticed she was liking tweets that were considered, or they were, I'm not going to say considered, they were anti-trans or outright transphobic, or they were made by transphobes who said that they were transphobic.
And this is coming after, like, she was seen as, like, the liberal hero.
Yes, she
was condemning Trump and
She
stuff.
is a feminist, and she considers herself liberal, but to a degree, I guess. So in 2019, Rowling came under fire again for coming to the defense of Maya Forstater. At the time, this woman was a researcher who had been in an employment discrimination battle because her contract with a think tank wasn't renewed after she had made a series of anti-trans statements. And these statements included that people should not be, quote, compelled to play along with literal delusions like trans women are women, end quote. And she referred to a gender fluid person as a man who likes to dress in women's clothes. That was a quote, end quote there. In a tweet, Rowling stood with Forstater. And this is what she said. This was in 2019. It's important that we know what years these happened in. Quote, dress however you please. Live your best life in peace and security. But force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real. Hashtag I stand with Maya. Hashtag this is not a drill. So you can see that she's like coming at this from a I'm standing up for women's rights. I'm liberal and progressive and whatever. And this is what I think. So the gauntlet was dropped on June 6th. Literally, I think maybe 1 week after George Floyd was murdered. So remember how hot everything was running at that point. June 6th, this woman, this middle-aged woman, decided she would tweet an article with the headline, Creating a More Equal Post-COVID-19 World for People Who Menstruate. Her tweet said, quote, people who menstruate. I'm sure there used to be a word for those people. Someone help me out. Wumben? Wimpund? Wumud? Question mark. Okay. The backlash was immediate and it was fierce.
Yep.
There were more tweets, and then she published an essay, like a really long essay where she talked about like why she thinks the way she thinks, and she talked about like she has a history of domestic abuse, and she doesn't feel safe in certain spaces with men, and she really thinks that trans women, some trans women are like exploiting a system that lets them get into spaces with women so that they can abuse them. Like, this is what she thinks. And I'll get into more about that when I get to the podcasts that I listen to.
Also, like, this one particular thing about, like, getting mad at them saying people who menstruate, like, not all biological women menstruate.
Right, exactly. And again, back to the language, people were just trying to, like, especially the news media, the, like, good news media that was actually trying to be responsible during this time, they were trying in good faith to, like, juggle the new language, that was the more inclusive language, to say people who menstruate versus women, like, you know, and to make space for everybody who menstruates. Like, not everybody gets it. And that's what it's like. Language, it takes time for language to become just like, recognize, like, no second thought about it. So this was a time when we're like introducing kind of to the general public this new inclusive, it's not new, but like it was becoming more publicized, inclusive language, you know, to the general public at a time when we have, like, the world is on fire. So it's just like, and it's just like all these things were coming to a head that shouldn't have been interacting and affecting each other, but they were. And I think about this, and I'll get to that in a second. So meanwhile, millennials who grew up on the values of Harry Potter, courage, loyalty, resistance to authoritarianism, and above all, acceptance, were left to grapple with how could the author of a work that, like, literally shaped who I am today, and, like, for some vulnerable youth, showed them that they can be accepted for who they are, come out. Like, how could she do this? How could she just, like, come out against a community? How could you never come out against anybody? You come out for people.
It's crazy.
You don't pit people against each other. So what was our response at the time? Honestly, in that moment, I did not know what tweet was which, and I thought it was the first one about the dress however you please, and I was like, at the time, I was like,
oh, she's like misguided.
Misguided, like, oh, why did she do that? I didn't even, because all I'm seeing are the, like, news articles coming out that show the whole timeline, but I'm not really paying attention because everything else was crazy at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Just trying to survive.
And I'm like, did she say anything terrible, or is she just old and doesn't get it? And I kind of dropped it at that point because too much was going on, and I was more invested in Black Lives Matter. And I was like, you know what, J.K. Rowling, I really just wanted her to be quiet. So,
yeah.
Which is, again...
That's what we all want.
Or just,
be quiet, go away.
Yeah. And now I'm kind of shutting her down, but now I know why I had that impulse. and I remember that I, shared some meme that was, in 20 years when we're reading Harry Potter to our kids, the book jacket will say, by she who must not be named. And then I shared that, and then somebody DM'd me and was like, oh, I think that it's getting taken out of context and diddle-diddle-da. And then that was when I was like, I'm out. I'm out right now. Mm-hmm. I'll pay attention to this later. And later happened to be now when I'm re-examining my relationship with Harry Potter. So that's where I was at the time. Do you remember how you
I
felt?
was like, get this bitch out of here. I hate her. And I was like, yeah, that was like, do I ever reread these books again? I don't know.
Well, we're gonna talk about that. So, and I think I've made it pretty clear that I believe trans women are women. I believe anybody is who they say they are, unless you're trying to be taking advantage, and you know that you are exploiting people.
But how would someone be exploiting people by being transgender?
Yeah, no, and I don't even mean that.
And why would anyone ever make the choice to be something that is so
hard
persecuted?
Yeah, and I say my qualifier because I think what if somebody commented and is like, well, if somebody decided that they wanted to be the reincarnation of Hitler, is that okay? No, shut up.
What kind of an
I don't know
argument
who
is that?
would say that, but I know somebody would say that.
Also, for everyone in the back, kids aren't identifying as cats and using litter boxes in school.
No.
That's not real.
That's not real. That is an example of one person taking something completely off, jumping the shark with it, and then the local newspaper picks it up, and then BuzzFeed picks it up, and it becomes what Fox News says, oh, the latest harebrained liberal thing. Mm-hmm. And that's how we experience life today. So,
I see a little prompt for me. It's just my name and a little question mark.
I think that was
I was probably already talking.
What was your response at the time?
Okay.
Yeah. So, trans women are women, trans men are men, and everybody should have the rights and liberties as everybody has them, as everybody experiences them. So, years pass, and the free press, which I can't even get into, that is an extremely, extremely online journalist niche thing, but they are free speech advocates, but they're, as Emily in Your Phone puts it, they are the vehicle through which extreme right-wing stuff becomes a moderate view. So they do a podcast series called The Witch Trials of J.K. Rowling, and it's hosted by Megan Phelps Roper. You might recognize that last name. She was a former member of the Westboro Baptist Church who broke out of the church and became her own person, which with much more nuanced and moderate views. And, good for her. And she actually said that Twitter is how she learned that her family's views were insane. And she was convinced by very patient, empathetic people that she was wrong. Mm-hmm. And she chose to change her life. So we should be happy about that. She's not perfect. I mean, how can you come from that?
That takes a lot
church
of
and
unprogramming.
Yes. So she set out to give J.K. Rowling another chance to tell her story, and the framing was everything I talked about earlier about the discourse, social media, algorithms, rage bait, etc., and how that played a role in how people's perception of J.K. Rowling was developed after the whole controversy started, which I think is, in general, a reasonable approach to take, especially when you're doing this for, like, potentially a audience that was not paying attention at that time.
Yeah.
But also, it could also be viewed as irresponsible because you're, like, going out of your way to give her
more grace
than she should get. So there's 100 takes, but at the time, again, I'm talking about a few weeks ago when I started looking into this again, having shelved it for 5 years at this point. I really wanted to find a light for J.K. Rowling because that felt important to me. And let me tell you, she just dug her grave and kept digging, and she's in China now because that's how far that she dug. Yeah. and so the series is, like, based on an exclusive interview that Megan Phelps-Roper had with J.K. Rowling, who to this day is, like, very still firm in her belief, and, like, now she's not accepting people's arguments. Like, she's closed the door on conversation.
Oh.
And most recently, and how you know she's completely just solidified the troll status, is that a UK court ruled that sex is binary and that a person is either a woman or a man, aka a trans woman is not a woman. And J.K. Rowling, tweeted a photo of herself holding a cigar and saying, "I love it when a plan comes together." And that was, like, absolutely geared toward the people that she felt silenced her during the whole start of this whole thing.
What about intersex people?
Right.
Who biologically do not fall into either of those two categories.
Right. And also, people think, like, oh, people are just, like, doing this now because society is crazy and everyone can just be who they want.
Trans people have always
been around.
Always been around.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
They unearthed, gosh, I don't know how old, some skeleton somewhere in some ancient place, and I forget where, but it's a male skeletal proportions, but they're wearing, like, women's clothing, women's jewelry, like, even BC, like, there's evidence that trans people have always been here.
Yeah. Yep. And exactly. So when she tweeted that photo, that's actually when this, like, came back into my consciousness, and I was like, oh, yeah, that. So it's time to think about it. So I wanted to... I hadn't been part of the discourse, so I'm like, is Harry Potter just Harry Potter? The books that I already own and I'm not going to spend money getting new ones. Is that okay to share the story with my children? Okay?
Yeah.
So to prep for this and to discover that answer, I read through all the tweets, all the think pieces, the Harry Potter and the Sacred Text podcast episode where they responded in 2020 to the initial controversy, and they had Jackson Bird, who is a trans man in the Harry Potter Alliance, which is an organization dedicated to helping vulnerable, marginalized kids seek acceptance, or not seek acceptance, but, you know, safety and everything you need. And I listened to the Panic World episode featuring Matt Bernstein. I did not get to his podcast episode. I just ran out of time.
I mean, he probably talked about a lot of the same things that he talked about in the Panic World.
And I'll link everything in the show notes, of course. I listened to all 7 episodes of The Witch Trials of J.K. Rowling and an old Pantsuit Politics. Anybody who knows me knows I love the Pantsuit Politics ladies. They discussed the whole J.K. Rowling situation after the Witch Trials of J.K. Rowling came out in 2023. Their episode was called "It's Time to Talk About J.K. Rowling." So they didn't get into it in 2020, and I didn't listen to them back then. I didn't start listening to them till last year. So I was, like, really happy that I could find something about J.K. Rowling through their lens, because they do a good job of talking about everything and then giving their conclusions, which were the same as mine.
Yeah.
So that felt good to I don't know, be validated. I mean, we're all validated. We all think the same thing. Maybe we all come at it from different ways, but
yeah.
The one thing I didn't get to, just because I didn't discover it in time, was Natalie Wynn, aka ContraPoints on YouTube.
She was, and Matt's episode was with her.
Oh, okay.
That's how I knew about all that, yeah.
She was featured in the Witch Trials of J.K. Rowling. She had, like, just really smart, nuanced, and she is a trans woman, and she spoke to, I mean, she had an initial reaction in 2020, and then, like, she just was was able to take herself out of the discussion and really come at it from all sides, which I thought was really thoughtful. And she didn't have to do that. She's the marginalized group that J.K. Rowling is coming out against. And I don't know. I just, when people who are communicators like that, they have a real talent, because it takes a lot to be able to do that.
I think J.K. has, like, specifically gone after ContraPoints, like, in tweets.
Oh, I'm sure she has. I'm sure she has. And that's what makes it even more astounding that Natalie could be so grounded when she responds. So anyway, I didn't listen to the ContraPoints response to the witch trials, although she was interviewed in the witch trials. I will. I just ran out of time, but it'll be linked so anybody can listen. And then anyway, so in going back to reinvestigate, I had 2 lines of thinking that I needed to either confirm or challenge. My first hypothesis was that wealth had turned J.K. Rowling evil. She was not the same woman that she was when she wrote Harry Potter. But then I remembered her origin story, or I was like made to remember because it was part of the discussion. I don't know if I forgot about everything, but I used to know everything about J.K. Rowling because she was my hero at the time. Her mom died young of MS. Her mom was like 45. She was like 20. She then got married young, and there was domestic abuse involved in that first marriage. She left. She was a single mom. She went to like live with her sister at first, and she wrote Harry Potter. She thought about Harry Potter, wrote it on a napkin. She was on benefits and whatnot. Her publisher wouldn't let her use her name on the cover. They were like, no, nobody's going to read this book about a boy written about a woman. So, interesting discussion points, or what was going on in her head about that. So they had her become J.K. Rowling. The K means nothing because she doesn't have a middle initial. She doesn't have a middle name. And then, weirdly, now she chooses to write under a man's pen name. Like, what does all that mean? Yeah. And,
where she, like, makes the murderer in her books,
yeah.
like, a trans
I didn't even know she was
and...
still writing books. That's how, like, removed I was
and,
from
like,
this.
The bad guy is, like, a disabled person who's extremely online.
Yeah, Yep. So
read the room, JK.
Then, she was a billionaire. Then she gave a lot away to philanthropy, and this is before she became, or at least was outed as transphobic. And I don't know what those charities were, but she gave away enough of her money that for a short time she lost her billionaire status. So I was like, no, it's not the wealth that made her become evil, because she doesn't seem particularly motivated by money.
I did hear, though, that, like, the whole, like, she was poor and I wrote Harry Potter on a napkin and this and that is greatly exaggerated.
I'm sure she has a rosier view than...
So she had enough money that she could quit her job in order to write Harry Potter.
Yeah, exactly. I heard that too. And I think that's partly true, and I do think that she was messed up at the time from her abuse from her husband, and maybe couldn't really hold a job, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but she just maybe wasn't in the mental place, and she had this idea, and this is what I want to believe anyway. So, but I don't think she was in the same way that controversial take. I don't think Elon Musk is like completely motivated by money. He's more motivated by, like, I'm going to be the person who puts everyone on Mars and humanity will thank me
People
forever
will think
and blah,
I'm
blah,
so
blah.
cool.
I similarly think J.K. Rowling, exactly, is more motivated by, look at me, I am
need to be in
the
the
be-all, end-all of the hot take.
Yeah.
And so that's that. So that hypothesis scrapped. And then my other thinking was that she was actually well-intentioned but misguided. Again, this was only because I only knew about that first tweet about the Maya Forstater. I didn't... It was all smushed together in my head because it was all happening.
There's just so much to pay attention to all the time.
Yeah.
How can you stay on top of every single thing?
Exactly. So I thought she was actually well-intentioned, but for women, but misguided in feminism. She was well-intentioned but misguided, and then the story is blown out of proportion because of everything that we talked about in the top half of this episode. So, as always, it's just a lot more complicated than that. There's just so much to say, but in listening to her explain her side of the story in the witch trials, which was obviously created to help redeem her, that 7 hours solidified to me that she was wrong, and she kind of knew she was wrong, but is dug in at this point. And I do think she put her finger on the pulse of a real problem, and that is she claims that she just saw the activist discourse just silencing people and never having a nuanced conversation about anything. Why she chose this most vulnerable community to make her what she thinks is her point, I don't know, because she could have talked about, like, abortion instead, or, like, Andrew Tate or something. If she wanted to be, well, I don't know if he was around back then, but if she wanted to be pro-woman, there were other ways to be pro...
abuse, like...
Domestic abuse. There were other conversations to be had. If she knew what she was doing when she entered the trans rights debate, she knew what she was doing. But she mentioned she'd been seeing this movement grow and she thought it was dangerous because it doesn't allow for debate. Okay, I can see that extrapolated in general across social media, but nah, like, no.
It's just like, what is there to debate? Somebody wants to live safely, and it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, exactly.
What is there to debate?
Her thing was that she thought that changing laws to accommodate, to say that, not accommodate, but to make it more inclusive, to make everything more inclusive, encroached on women's hard-fought rights. That's just such a silly way to look at it, JK. And I thought you were smarter than that, to be honest. And her argument boiled down to, you do you, trans women, but I don't want any societal or policy change that will impact me and my rights. Again,
but it wouldn't,
but that's just
rights.
that's her take, because that's how she thinks for whatever reason. I don't think that she's, like, evil, but I think her argument is founded in fear, which is why people are right to say
evil.
Transphobic. Maybe she is. I don't see how someone who's evil could write Harry Potter. Maybe she turned evil. Maybe the wealth did turn her evil. and I don't know. Maybe she is. I'm still struggling with this, as you can see.
Yeah, no, it's a big, complicated point. I had the struggle, and I've kind of come to where I'm going to be on it.
Totally. And I think that in taking up this argument, for which she maintains that she has read and done the work and the research, and she still comes to the same conclusion.
What sources are you reaching? Where are you getting your information?
She has a whole episode where she lists, like, every single source she read, and she was like, I just didn't see the counterpoint effectively shown to me. And it's like, oh my god, okay. So she chose to be a poor steward of the values that she champions in Harry Potter. The amazing flash of creativity and genius that she had to write Harry Potter, I know those values are in there somewhere, or were in there. And I think she really thinks that she is still championing them, but she's doing it in a way that pits people against each other. And that's just not what you do. And like I said, if she wanted to champion women's rights, there were other ways to do it. There's talk to Donald Trump about paid leave. Like, he likes you now, so you might as well use that.
It's like, instead of trying to overthrow Voldemort, she's going after the house elves.
Yep. And we'll get to talking a little bit about house elves being portrayed in that whole weird thing. There's just so much. She could have just talked about toxic masculinity. And again, I don't know where Andrew Tate was at this time, but I'm sure he was on Twitter. I'm sure he was around. We could have dismantled him a lot earlier. And a lot of her defense stems from her feeling like she was silenced and bullied, which she keeps saying, like, I don't care about me. I just don't want other women to be silenced and
Seems
bullied.
like me is the only person she cares about.
Exactly. And it just doesn't hold up to the values. And yes, there were times when the commentary with her was, I don't like what you said and I'm shutting you down right now and I'm done with you. I can see that. I can see it, and I agree. And also, it still plays into the whole culture of shutting everybody down all the time. It's such a struggle because I see what she was trying to do, but it was just the wrong thing.
To me, there's a difference between shutting someone down because they're saying, oh, it's so hard to keep up with all this new pronoun stuff. I don't even know.
Yeah,
like, I'm going to offend someone. And J.K. Rowling using her money to help lobby for reform that goes against human rights.
Absolutely. At the time of these tweets, she had not done that. Yeah. So that's another thing.
I don't even know where we are in the timeline right now.
No, now we're looking back at it. But at the time of the original tweets, where people were just like, I'm done with you and I hate you. Which, I get. Like, you were right looking back. But now, yes, she does. And she has, like, a women's fund that she funnels her money to. That's new. And that's why we'll talk about not supporting her with the wallet.
But back then, she had, like, that manifesto that was like, here's all the proof that I'm
crazy
horrible.
Manifesto. Exactly. So, which I didn't know existed at the time. And I feel like what I'm saying is, like, the reality for a lot of people. Like, what happened? What? And why do we hate J.K.
It really,
Rowling?
like, snowballed, because it was, like, that one tweet, and then all this other stuff happened, and then everyone's like, what, it's just one tweet. And then, it's like, no, there's...
Yeah, exactly.
And I know there's 100 million horrible things going on in the world right now. Yeah. And you can't possibly keep track of all of them. And it's really hard to keep track of any of them because everything's awful.
Yes.
But...
Exactly.
This was happening.
Yep. And if I had decided at the time, I'm going to key into this now, I would have obviously come to all these conclusions a lot earlier. And I always had the gut feeling that she was wrong and what she was saying was wrong. And to this day, I was just so, like, the dissonance of this woman who wrote these books.
Being a mom and all the other things that you had to pay attention to for your job and be locked into every news source for the 100,000 other things that were going on.
Exactly. It's just like, I don't know. And I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt because I could not marry these two people together.
It's really difficult.
Yeah. And she just, she kept digging
It's
herself
like two things that don't compute.
Exactly. And and she kept talking about, like, she was talking about people shutting down women who were being gender critical. I think that is the term. Like, feminists, icons who were, like, weighing in. She was like, they were just silencing and not accepting their views and da-da-da. And it's like, do you hear yourself? Because you are not accepting trans people as people. You're like, to you, a trans woman is not a woman, and you're saying that.
Like,
and
you're equating trans women to predators.
Yeah, you're relegating them to a second-class status, thinking that they can't have the same rights as you, and that's just a huge violation of the Harry Potter values. And she just kept saying these things, and I'm like, do you hear yourself talking? I hope she listened to it. I mean, obviously, even if she did, it didn't change her mind, but she just was very hypocritical. So I think she saw herself as someone using her massive platform to stand up for women. And again, but she just did it so wrong and from such a bad place.
Yeah.
And then she like gets picked apart, in her words, and it just confirms her theory that the internet is toxic. But she does not
get off it.
She doesn't identify her role in that.
Yeah. Remember that time that she posted some crazy rant and a photo of her, and like the wall behind her was like covered in black mold?
Ew, no, I don't do
it. It was
that.
crazy, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's why she's gone crazy
because there's
she's
mold
living
everywhere."
Amongst mold.
Yeah, probably. So, my heart hurts for the trans kids who sought refuge and solace in Harry Potter when they needed it. And a couple of those people were interviewed in the various podcasts I listened to, and some were very, very hurt and done, and some were like me, even though it's their vulnerability that J.K. Rowling was like attacking, essentially. They were like me, trying to like, they were struggling.
Yeah.
Like, this woman, like, I don't get it.
It's like a square hole
Yeah.
and a round peg.
And they were trying to give her an opening, or an off-ramp, rather. So
But that's the thing, is that she has been given so many
the
off-ramps,
off-ramps, she just keeps
and
driving.
she's not taking them.
She just keeps driving on the highway to hell. So how terrible to see the creator of something you love so much, and maybe relied on at certain times to continue in this world.
Like, really, anyone who like grew up lonely,
Yeah.
or
I was a lonely nerd, as my
Yeah.
uncle so kindly pointed out.
anyone who's like biological family like didn't show them the love that they needed, like Harry Potter
did.
did.
Yeah. Dumbledore did. Hagrid
Like
did.
Mrs. Weasley.
Mrs. Weasley was the mom we all
Yeah.
wanted. So
Sirius Black was like the cool uncle we never had.
yeah. So that's why I just really, really wish we could turn back time and she could just like understand the role. Maybe she does understand it, but I, understand it the way I understand it. As the most popular children's book author ever, the first writer to become a billionaire, and understand how many lives she touched through Harry Potter, and realize that sometimes you need to just be a good steward of the values that are integral to your work, and like, just don't put your thumb on the scale. Like, and now I'm gonna listen to this and be like, am I silencing her? No, we've gave her enough time to have a discussion about this.
She's at the point where she's doing the Voldemort
Yeah,
shit.
and like, whatever. Think whatever you think. If you're not going to like turn around
She
on
wants
this,
the pure blood. She wants only the two genders.
Yep.
She wants
Yes. So if that's how you think, J.K. Rowling, and we can't convince you otherwise, fine. But don't mess up Harry Potter for everybody. Be a steward of your work. Okay? You talk about acceptance. You talk about courage. You talk about loyalty. You talk about resisting authoritarianism. Then do that. She knew, she says that 100 times, like, I knew when I was going to enter this conversation, I was going to lose people. Like, what? Then just don't. Yep. Why did you, like, recognize your place in the world and don't.
Like, and that's, the thing is, if she, like, always had these beliefs, she could be just silently putting her money toward that and no one would know.
Yeah, exactly.
But she has to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
She has to be all over the internet all the time.
Yep, and that's
like
what
Elon
they
Musk.
said in the Panic World episode. So anyway, after all, as Dumbledore says, it's our choices that show who we truly are, far more than our abilities. And she has an amazing ability to write and tell these stories, and she chose to channel that impact into something destructive. So that's my take. So getting back to that idea of being a good steward is what actually made me know in my heart that we are still free to read and enjoy and pass on the wonder of Harry Potter, because we, the readers, are the stewards of the values of Harry Potter. Not J.K. Rowling. We are the Harry Potter stewards of courage, loyalty, acceptance, love, resisting authoritarianism, etc. And yes, I haven't read the books in a long time, definitely not since before 2020. But there were like problematic things, like Rita Skeeter's clearly J.K. Rowling channeling her anger of people, mannish women, I don't know.
And there's also like so many different like stereotypes, like Why is the only Asian character Cho
Chang. Yeah.
Also, something that was pointed out recently that I was like, oh my god, you're right. The only Irish character is constantly being blown up. Like,
that's true.
That's awful.
Yeah. Yep. And, so she... a product of her time for sure in terms of those kinds of stereotypes.
But if it was just those kinds of stereotypes,
then we could
it's like Friends.
Yeah, we could contextualize it.
Yeah.
But and then the house elves like wanting to be slaves all the time and weird, except for Dobby. At least we had Dobby. And like you use those moments for your children when they're like capable of starting to understand these things as learning curves, and you're like.
And I think a complicated thing about reading it to young children is going to be like when they learn like, oh, I will like there's all this stuff I can buy and like I want to spend this money on this, and it's like then you've got to start to go into the nuance of, well, yeah, the story is great, but we can't spend money on it because we don't want it to go to this person.
Yes, exactly.
And explaining that to a kid can be complicated.
Yep. And that's here is where you.
Oh, look at that! Sorry. I predicted it.
No, exactly. It was a natural segue into the next part. So, if we can read the books, they're wonderful books with wonderful lessons that need to be passed on forever. But don't buy new ones if you don't want to support J.K. Rowling and her things that she chooses to funnel her money toward. Buy used Harry Potter books. Don't buy new ones. I'm sorry. I'm not going to watch the HBO show. I'm not sorry. I don't care. Why did I say this? I'm sorry. I'm not watching the HBO show. I really wanted to before I dove back into this because it sounds awesome, but nope, can't give her any more money. I thankfully went to Harry Potter World before all this happened. And no, my children will get the beat up versions of the books that I have.
I want to go back to Universal to go to Halloween Horror Nights, but I'm like, but then she'll automatically get money because it's just it's just like it's you got to try to figure weigh it, do what you can.
So that's where we came to on J.K. Rowling. She was wrong. She's not a good steward of Harry Potter values, but we are. Therefore, we can continue to share the magic for generations to come. Okay. So we talked about J.K. Rowling, but we also want to talk about in general, like less, I don't know, cataclysmic faves, and more just like when you read silly headlines and you're like, what? Will and Grace is evil? Like, no, it's not. And here, I'm going to be quiet for a minute.
Well, I was going to say, we were talking about Friends, which is like one of those classic sort of, a lot of it didn't age well. And I was thinking about Friends, I was like, oh, and Will and Grace aired directly after Friends on prime time. And if you look back at that, it's just like full of all these like stereotypes. But in the 1998... it was crazy that, like, this sitcom that centered on, like, a gay man was, like, right after Friends, like, the most popular show at the time.
Yep.
And, like, okay, maybe there are stereotypes, but without Will and Grace, like, then we wouldn't have gotten, like, Glee. Exactly. We wouldn't have gotten, like, Heartstopper that's on Netflix. Like, it just, like... paved the way. Yeah, exactly. It was a trailblazing show, and it's not perfect. Just, like,
nothing's perfect. People aren't perfect.
You look at, like... there's a whole, like, in horror, there's a whole subgenre called blaxploitation, where it was, like...
like Blackula and
exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is super stereotyped, but it was also, like, the first time that black people saw themselves in these horror icons.
Yep.
And without Blackula, like, would we have gotten Get Out?
Yeah, or Sinners, which is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of Tumblr, I saw this crazy post like yesterday morning, and somebody was like, "Is the Rocky Horror Picture Show problematic? Like, should we not watch it?" And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" It's like because like they say transsexual, and like that was the term in the 70s. That was like transgender was not the accepted term at that time.
Right.
And if you go into like a little podunk town in, I don't know, like Iowa or something, probably like the gayest
Even
thing some little teenager can find is like a local production of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, you know?
Exactly. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah. So it's like...
Open your mind.
Yeah.
Please. This is what we're asking of everyone.
Yeah.
To open your mind. Okay? So then we've got your other... And we talked friends.
Yeah.
People say there's lack of diversity. Like, what do you want?
Yeah. And like... in Friends, there was a lot of casual misogyny and homophobia, and like I remember the episode where like Joey loved Rachel gave him like a man purse to use for an audition, and he like fell in love with it, and it was like they were kind of like making fun of his manhood, but that episode is so funny.
Yeah, right. It's okay.
Are you referring to my man's bag?
Bring
like
humor to these things. You bring up these topics with humor. It makes it more accessible to people. Maybe they didn't know that's what they were doing at the time, but that's how you can see it. Yeah. And then The Office. Oh my God. Don't at me with The Office couldn't be made today. Yeah, I know that. But you know what? It was funny. It was self-aware. It was purposefully cringy. And the guy who plays Oscar, because everybody's like, Oscar was the butt of every joke. Did you know that the Latino man who plays, I'm not sure if he's gay in real life, that's something I should have looked up, but who plays Oscar is voluntarily in the new iteration of The Office, which is about a newspaper in the Midwest.
Oh, he is?
Yeah. Do you think he would do that if he felt so downtrodden by the way?
Are you talking about like that like episode where like Michael Scott makes him like kiss him on the lips and stuff?
Yes.
That's like intended to be like, Michael Scott, you're horrible.
Yes. I don't think we understand. Michael Scott was good-hearted, but he messed up everything he did.
Well, that brings me to like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah. Like on that Your Fave is Problematic list was Rob McElhenney, and on the Tumblr like list of your favorite is problematic, he was on there, and it's like the thing that his character did was supposed to be problematic. It was supposed to make you think this is a horrible person, this character.
They're all
and
horrible.
You're making fun of the horrible people, and you're not on their side.
Yeah.
And it made me think like you would have put Mark Twain on this.
Yeah.
Like,
Mark
for
Twain.
writing Huckleberry Finn.
Yeah.
Because it's a blatant satire.
Yeah.
The people who are bad are supposed to be bad. Like, It's Always Sunny, like, the way they do satire has changed as the times change.
Yes. Being responsive to culture is great.
Yeah, and it's always, like, on the side of the more progressive people, and it's always making fun of the bad people, which is who happen to be the main characters.
Yes, exactly.
But you're supposed to hate them.
Yep. And then this is peak problematic faves. People who were super judgy in high school who now write for BuzzFeed or Vox or whatever, telling me that Hamilton is problematic.
What?
Don't tell me Hamilton is problematic, okay?
How is Hamilton problematic?
Because it glorifies founding fathers who owned slaves.
Oh.
No, it doesn't. It does not glorify owning slaves.
Yeah.
They're a main character / person in real life. Whatever his name was. I'm terrible. I should have remembered to look it up. But Lauren, I don't remember what his name was. Lauren. Sorry. But Hamilton's like best friend was like the one who wanted to free the slaves even back then, and he wanted to lead the first black battalion. Remember those? And he was like a key figure in the play and also in real life. And I wish I remembered his name. There's too much going on in my brain right now. And then like, also let's talk about the cast that was purposefully made to be diverse, even though everyone we're talking about was white.
Yeah.
and Lin-Manuel Miranda, like, that was a choice to like show America is only great because of its diversity, but we needed our founding fathers to start that. They recognized they wanted to be freed from the tyranny of authoritarianism. They fought for it. it took a long time to get to where we are today, and we're not perfect. We're far from it, but
and
we're
our founding
much more
fathers
progress.
also weren't perfect.
Yeah, nobody's perfect. And that's going to be my closing argument, so let me come back to that in a minute. But why can't I just like Hamilton?
You can.
It's just, I named my daughter because of Hamilton.
Yeah. Well, and like even Harry
Eliza.
Potter,
Yeah. Hamilton.
I have teen clients who like love Harry Potter and they read it. Like,
yeah.
It's tough. Oh, you know, two artists that I am always like. One, I have a no. It's easy for me to separate the artist from the art.
Right.
But another one that's tough is Michael Jackson. Is kind of like the king of one of the problematic favorite.
The king.
Yeah. We don't even know for sure what happened with him.
No.
But we're pretty sure we know what happened with him.
Yep.
And it's like, it's kind of tainted his music to the point that like when you hear like one of his incredible songs, it's like, oh,
can I dance to this?
I don't know if I really want to dance to this.
Yeah.
But another,
or if do I even want to? Am I over it? Because this man just, who knows what was going on.
But like,
we're pretty sure, but we can't
somebody
say.
who's another problematic fave is Prince. And I'm sorry, I'm always going to dance to Prince.
Yeah. Yeah, what did Prince do? See,
he was just
talk
like,
about not being keyed in, because this is just
especially
doesn't enter my conscience.
Yeah, especially toward the end of his life, he became very religious and like homophobic. And my thought is because he was always so flamboyant and got a lot of homophobic hate himself. He probably was like, I'm going to spin this around and to distance myself from this population,
totally.
which is not right. But like Purple Rain slaps.
Yes, and there's a movie that just came out. It's on HBO. It's like one of those A24 movies called Opus, and I think it's not about Prince, but I think it's uses him as a model for the like musician that goes into like seclusion and like gets super religious. And John Malkovich plays the musician. It's a very crazy movie. I would highly recommend.
Another one that we're not really going to get into because we don't have the time, but is Neil Gaiman. That's someone that's like so I just rearranged my room and I put like my bookshelves in the corner and I got a little reading chair in front of them, but the reading chair covers like the bottom shelf of the books in the corner, and that's where I've put Harry Potter and the Sandman so that they're not prominently displayed on my bookshelf anymore, and you can't even see that I have them. So that's where I'm at with that.
I understand. Harry Potter's still prominently displayed in the middle of my bookshelf because, again, I talked about it. I feel okay with it. So, not okay with J.K. Rowling, but okay with Harry Potter. So, I think we're ready to reach our conclusion.
Yep.
And this has been a lot, but I think that the main through line through everything that we discuss is that people are complicated. People are complicated. And beyond the core Harry Potter values that we mentioned earlier, loyalty, courage, rejecting authoritarianism, and acceptance, Harry Potter really is a story about how people are messy, and Snape is the ultimate representation of that. He was generally a bad guy, but he did a good thing. And Dumbledore was a good guy, and he did a bad thing at times.
And like even like Draco Malfoy was a really bad guy, but he was 16 years old and had like
and his
an abusive parent situation.
Though his mother, I think, if given another chance, maybe would have left Lucius. I don't know, or not. Who knows? But
that's what fan fiction's for.
Yeah, exactly. People are messy. They're people. I don't want to like be casually putting arguments together, but this struck me as I was driving here. It's like people aren't binary. We don't want to say anybody's binary on any stretch of the spectrum of sexuality, gender, views,
good, bad,
black and white, etc. So let's just kind of challenge ourselves to remember that people are complicated. Their views are shaped in very individual and personal ways.
But that's not an excuse.
No, it's not an excuse.
You might be able to see why they're like that, but that doesn't mean it's okay.
No, that's very true and part of the conversation. always, and always keep it in the back of your mind. There's always room for growth and persuasion when we can learn to adjust each other as people. And then it's on them to engage in good faith or not. And if people show you their true colors and they're not going to change and it's for the worse, that you step back and you disengage. You can't change everybody's mind. But complicated and messy people who are generally trying to do their best in this crazy world, those are the kind of people you can work
grace.
with. Not everyone, but ideally, I feel it's most people. So what are we making time for this week? Well, I'll just, if you can tell, I'm just taking a step back because this was all too much for me. I'm going to read for pleasure.
Oh,
And
very
that's,
nice.
That's it.
I'm taking time to do a little something fun and creative. I'm gonna go paint some pottery tomorrow.
Nice.
A little cute friend date. Yeah.
Yay. All right. Well, that's it for this episode. Next, we will be tackling AI.
Only a little fraction of what's going on with it because there's so much to talk about.
All right.
See you later, party people.